All right, let's get started on section two, the European War. The war is really going to be fought on two different fronts for the United States, in Europe and in the Pacific. So let's just talk about the European War and what kind of drags us into that before Pearl Harbor. 1933, Hitler has continued to violate every part of the Treaty of Versailles, occupying the Rhineland, annexing Austria. Now, the thing about those two areas, the Rhineland was mostly German people. The people of Austria considered themselves Germanic, so no one really did anything to stop those annexations, even though they went against the Treaty of Versailles. Once again, it goes back to no one really doing a whole lot, but there's a lot of things going on that we've talked about also, the Depression and kind of minding our own business. But those are some of the things that Hitler's doing. Now, in 1939, Hitler and Stalin signed a non-aggression act called the Nazi-Soviet Pact. This means they promise not to fight each other. And this is going to scare a lot of people. Okay, it's frightened a lot of people in the United States because now you've got these two big, what you want to call superpowers, joining forces. So this pretty much controls most of Europe and on the continent there. So it's really kind of scary for the Americans. So September the 1st, 1939, Hitler invades Poland. Even though he claimed he wanted no more territory after the Rhineland and Austria, he lied, and he's not a very trustworthy person. I don't know why anybody would have trusted him anyway. But anyway, September the 1st, 1939, invasion of Poland. Now the thing is, there's a thought there that the Germans disguised themselves as Polish soldiers, attacked some other German soldiers. This gave him cause to invade, so he declares war on Poland. And this is the official start of World War II. So this is what we've got to understand. September the 1st, 1939 is the official start date of World War II. The United States is not involved at this point in a militarily fashion, and we're going to be involved politically, and we'll get through that. So we start to revise our neutrality laws. Now we start to revise this where we're gonna be more on the side of the democratic nations, Great Britain, France, countries like that, which are going to be the two major allies here. So we can kind of deal with them, but we're going to shut off and isolate Germany and Russia if we have to. Warring nations could pay cash for weapons. So we basically had a cash and carry policy, and this favored the allies. Great Britain and France had money that they could come in and buy weapons. The British and French navies especially were able to come in and buy ships. So this favored the Allies as long as we kept doing this. Now, September of 1940, we take another step closer. Now we're moving closer and closer to being involved in this war. We vote for a draft. Congress votes a draft for 21 to 35-year-olds. Basically, you got to go sign up, put your name in a pot, and if we have a draft, you'll get called up by those numbers. October the 16th, 16 million men would register for the draft. And in fact, I think if I was reading something the other day or watching something, I think we had over 11 million men in the military during World War II. So 11 million out of 16 million, that's a large number there. Each man was given a number, 1 to 8,500, and then numbers would be pulled from the bowl, and that number would be the order the men would be called up. So what it amounts to is if you're number one, and when number one is pulled, however many men had number one, that's how it got called up. So now Hitler's war machine keeps rolling through Western Europe. It's already gone through Poland. Now he turns around. That was kind of to the east toward Russia. So now he turns west, and he's coming back through Western Europe, and it just rolls through. He's also attacking the French in North Africa. So he's really gone after the French, declared war there, and the French who control North Africa, he just crushes them. And he rolls on through Western Europe, and he traps the British and French and the Belgian army at the city of Dunkirk. And they're just kind of trapped in this pocket around this port city, and they're about to be destroyed, captured, and if this happens, this war is over. But from May 26th through June the 4th, British ships of all kinds, we're talking about fishing boats, tugboats, whatever could cross the channel, just kept going across and across and saved over 340,000 troops. Now, it's still a very crushing defeat, but because those 340,000 men were saved, there's still a chance. Now, they've still got men that can fight. You just got to put them back into the war at some point. The German war machine then rolls on through France. By the end of June, France surrenders by the end of June of 1940. So September 1st, 1939, June of 1940. Just not even a year, Hitler now controls all of Europe except for England. So, I mean, and this type of warfare was known as Blitzkrieg warfare. It was lightning warfare, very fast, all out, bam, hit people really fast and keep moving. The U.S. really begins to worry. We're kind of worried about this right now. What's going to happen? England, who is our strongest ally at that point, and what happens if they fall? What is Hitler going to do at that point? Is America in danger? So Churchill calls on Roosevelt for help. So we're the only people that are still out there. Roosevelt gives an executive order giving 50 old destroyers to England. In exchange for this is a 99-year lease on several naval and air bases in the West Indies. So there is a trade-off, but the 50 old destroyers are just to reinforce England's navy. Now, Hitler expected a very quick defeat of England. He was really set to invade England, but his leader of the Air Force, Goring, was adamant that the Air Force could bomb England into oblivion, that they wouldn't have to send any men over till it was to the very end. So Hitler buys that, feels like it's going to be a quick victory, and of course that does not turn out to be that. There's an American commentator, a news anchorman, if you want to call him that, Edward R. Murrow. He was in London at this time, and he brought the war home to America with his radio broadcast. Just about every day from London, especially at night, he would give a broadcast, and there would be bombs falling in the background. You could hear all this going on. So people got a sense of what was going on in England at this time. Now, the Battle of Britain formed the background for our election in 1940. Now, we know Roosevelt's been elected in 1932 and again in 1936. No president had ever been elected for a third term. So, not sure what's going to go on. The Republicans nominated a man named Wendell Willkie. The only time you'll probably see him in a history book is because he ran against Roosevelt in 1940. The Democrats were not sure if Roosevelt would run for a third term. Like I said, no one had run for a third term, so just not sure what he's going to do. So Roosevelt felt like he is needed. He's guided the United States. He's guided our country through the Great Depression from 1932 now to 1948 years. He's done the best he could. It's sort of working, it's sort of not working, but the thing is, this thing is so bad worldwide, it's hard to pull any one nation out of it by itself. So, but Roosevelt felt like, I've got to be the president. So he's going to run for that third term. And of course, the Republicans go out there and say, oh, Roosevelt's going to run, and he's going to get us into this war. He's going to get us into the war. But now Roosevelt says, no, I don't have plans to get us into a war. We are concentrating on trying to just make America great again, if you want to use that term. But he's trying to get the United States out of the Depression. But now he knows we're probably going to have to get in there. I mean, there's just no way around this, because we're going to have to side England at some point. We're going to have to come in on their side, and he knows that. Roosevelt wins by a landslide, not even close. Wendell Willkie falls back into oblivion and never heard from again. Britain is running low on funds to buy supplies and weapons. They can't come in and do the cash and carry. They're out of money. So what do? January of 1941, we get this thing called the Support of the Four Freedoms. We're going to support countries who support the same ideas and values that we have. Basically, what we get is the Lend-Lease Act. Okay, we will either lend you weapons or lease you weapons to any nation that is defending the freedom and the security of the United States. So, therefore, England, who is that last line between Germany and us, even though there's an ocean in between us, but still, they're the last line. So we're going to lend or lease weapons to England or whoever is fighting against the Germans at this point. Okay? Now, German U-boats were swarming the Atlantic. Much like World War I, these submarines were all over the place, and they were trying to stop the flow of supplies from the United States to Britain. That was their goal, was to stop this flow of supplies. Air power was shifted away from the Battle of Britain to also stop this flow of supplies. So basically, us coming in and shipping large amounts of supplies, bam, 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 actually helps alleviate some of the pressure on Great Britain in the Battle of Britain, which turned into an air battle. And so a lot of the Air Force now, the Luftwaffe, the German Air Force, is having to go try to bomb ships. So the Battle of the Atlantic becomes very desperate because submarines are sneaking up on you, planes are coming in and bombing on you. So it becomes a very, very desperate struggle to get these ships and supplies to England. Roosevelt authorized helping repair British ships and gave more boats to Britain. So, any boat that was damaged, they could sell into American ports and be repaired. And we also are giving more boats to Great Britain. So, right here, we're pretty much coming in on the side of Great Britain. We're not helping Germany, even though we're not officially at war. June of 1939, right after the Nazi-Soviet pact is signed, shortly after, Hitler breaks his pact with the USSR and invades Russia. Just not a very, I guess because he felt like he had all of Western Europe conquered except for England. It was going to be just a matter of time. So now we'll shift our focus and we'll invade Russia. It's really going to be one of the downfalls of Hitler right here. So now we extend our lend-lease to Russia, who had been an ally of Germany. Now is going to be one of our allies. So now we're giving supplies not only to Great Britain, we're giving supplies to Russia. August of 1941, Roosevelt and Churchill meet. The Atlantic Charter, they signed the Atlantic Charter, which is an outline of how Europe is going to be kind of put back together after the war. So it's outline plans for a post-war world, who's going to be what, and and how things are going to be dealt with. September 1941, moving a little closer, it's a month later, a U-boat sinks an American ship. We don't go to war over this, but it puts us on notice. Roosevelt compared Hitler to a rattlesnake. Can't trust him. Orders the Navy to protect all ships carrying lend-lease supplies. So this just moves us one step closer. Roosevelt, he just orders the Navy to protect all the ships. October of 1941, another ship attacked and sunk. All naval restrictions are lifted. We are now unofficially at war. So basically, what has happened now, without us declaring war, is that we're going to protect ourselves no matter what. If we think that we see a U-boat or we see planes, we're going to attack them. Okay? So that ends our notes for Section 2. We'll get back at it on Section 3 shortly. Hope everybody has a great day.